According to statistics, there was an upsurge in media violations with at least 23 journalists unlawfully arrested or detained in the last year. I'm sure most of you will remember, particularly around the demonstrations that were taking place, political demonstrations. A lot of journalists were arrested and detained unlawfully, and this resulted in the media representatives meeting the police leadership at the PGHQ to voice those concerns, which resulted in some positive outcomes following that meeting. The assaults were made either by police or by unruly political activists while the journalists were professionally conducting themselves. And this is a 130% increase in the number of journalists arrested and assaulted, respectively, while on duty. MAS is also concerned by threats against media freedom, which poses a chilling effect on citizens' right to freedom of expression and access to information, both offline and online, as evidenced by stern measures such as the blackout on social media platforms such as WhatsApp, and the plans in motion to enact laws that will hinder online activity under the guise of preventing cyber crimes. While noting government commitment to engage and consult on the proposed cyber legislation and review of the Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act and the Broadcasting Services Act, MAS is concerned that the government has not set timelines on when these plans are going to be implemented, and there is no clear roadmap for reforming the media. We therefore call on the Information and Media Ministry to submit legislation before the appropriate authorities, spearheading the processes of aligning laws with the Constitution. The same concerns naturally apply as regards the Information Media Panel of Inquiry report, which had positive resolutions and recommendations, and we still await the holding of meetings and conferences to ensure that the recommendations made in the report are implemented. MAS is also cognizant of other developments within the media sector, specifically the process of digital migration as spearheaded by the Ministry of Information, discussions on internet governance and cyber laws, as well as concerns pertaining to the sustainability of most media organizations. These developments have invariably posed opportunities and threats to the survival of media organizations and to the enjoyment of rights to freedom of expression and access to information. Well, I was having debates and discussions with some people involved in this digital migration, and they are of the view that it is going to create opportunities and jobs given the number of radio stations and television stations that are going to be created, and therefore hence the call that we retool and begin to be content producers at a larger scale. It is against this background that MAS urges the Zimbabwe government to swiftly align the country's media laws, policy and regulatory frameworks with the Constitution and in line with the regional and international instruments that it is a state party or signatory to. It is also prudent for government to deal with perpetrators of media violations and ensure the greatest safety and security of journalists conducting their professional duties, particularly at a time that the country is heading towards watershed elections in the next year. Safety and security of journalists still remains paramount and important. I was with the Comrade Privilege last week, where ironically we were attending a meeting to prepare for World Press Freedom Day commemorations. And we were invited over by the police for a discussion. So I think that alone situates the safety and security of journalists in the country as we speak. In noting the digitalization program and the recent launch of the national languages news bulletins by the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, MAZ urges the review of broadcasting policy framework in order to secure ZBC's governance, managerial and editorial independence, for it to fulfill its public service mandate as provided for in the Constitution. This broadcasting policy framework should also provide for the entry of diverse media owners and the licensing of community radio stations. The licensing of community radio stations still remains an issue, an outstanding issue that we continue to urge authorities to look at urgently and implement speedily. For community radios are a necessary developmental tool. MAZ also continues to implore the government to create a safe working environment for the media and to provide leadership within and outside government in raising awareness on the need to ensure the safety and security of journalists and media workers. Moreover, we buttress the calls for government to address the sustainability challenges within the media industry by reviewing the multiple tax regimes and to further facilitate for the viability of the media industry. MAZ sincerely believes that addressing these challenges will spur the country towards realizing sustainable development goals. Targets as freedom of expression and press freedom are essential to success at every level. The highlights of commemorations for this year: the Media Alliance of Zimbabwe, MAZ, in partnership with UNESCO, which is a UN agency, and leadership of the Zimbabwe National Editors Forum, ZINEF, and the Zimbabwe Union of Journalists, ZUJ, will, as part of commemorations of World Press Freedom Day on the 3rd of May, host a symposium at the Harare Polytechnic where media stakeholders are going to reflect on the topic, Critical Minds for Critical Times, the media's role in advancing peaceful, just, and inclusive Zimbabwe. The event will commence at 9 o'clock and end at 1 o'clock, and every media stakeholder is invited. Some of the key speakers at the event, at the symposium, other than myself, will be the Zimbabwe Government Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, the Zimbabwe National Editors Forum Chairperson and Zimbabwe Independent Editor Dumisani Muleya, the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO Regional Director, Media Academic and Zimbabwe Democracy Institute Director Dr. Pesairo Anya, and the Zimbabwe Media Commission Chief Executive Officer Dr. Tafataona Paspaipa Mawoso. Post this activity, MAZ partner MISA Zimbabwe is going to convene provincial press freedom commemorations in some of these cities in Zimbabwe. Other notable activities include a breakfast meeting to be convened in Harare on the 2nd of May and the annual Bonwell Chakaodza lecture hosted by the Voluntary Media Council of Zimbabwe on the 4th of May. Other members and media stakeholders are also going to be convening various commemorative activities across the country. MAZ, through its various social media pages, will be stimulating discussions and debates on press freedom in Zimbabwe, and there will also be various hashtags for all the aforementioned activities. Some of the hashtags include the international hashtag World Press Freedom Day and hashtag Press Freedom. The local hashtags include hashtag Zimbabwe World Press Freedom Day 2017 and hashtag Press Freedom Day Zimbabwe. About MAZ. The Media Alliance of Zimbabwe is an alliance of media support organizations, including Media Monitors, Media Institute of Southern Africa, Zimbabwe Union of Journalists, Zimbabwe National Editors Forum, Gender and Media Connect, the Media Center, the Zimbabwe Association of Community Radio Stations, the Voluntary Media Council of Zimbabwe, and the African Community Publishing Development Trust. MAZ focuses on 4 key areas, which include freedom of expression, right to information, media freedom, media law, and policy reform. Thank you very much.